Where do you think you'll be in the year 2030?
Broadway. Twinsies.
Walking, in jail, or dead.
Smallville.
It started out as a scrapbook and just kind of mutated.
What is it?
I call it the Wall of Weird.
This is probably one of the most successful superhero origin stories, but it's quite difficult to watch knowing what Allison Mack was up to. Mack played the smart and hardworking Chloe Sullivan while moonlighting as a high-ranking member of NXIVM.
You know we'd love to join you and Scooby inside the Mystery Machine for another zany adventure, but we gotta hand in these permission slips before homeroom.
Ostensibly a self-improvement company, NXIVM is more accurately labeled a cult, and Mack joined it in 2006, around the time of the show's 5th season. She worked her way up through the ranks and soon engaged in human trafficking, recruiting women for the cult and subjecting them to various forms of physical and mental abuse. She eventually pleaded guilty to racketeering and was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but was released after just 21 months.
Honestly, her eyes looked dead. It was very much like that feeling of a sociopath.
iCarly.
Let me go! Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. And what are you sorry for? For saying you're aggressive.
Harmless Nickelodeon shows shouldn't be difficult to watch, but this one is for a variety of reasons. The first is the general presence of creator Dan Schneider, who has been accused of running a toxic workplace and behaving inappropriately with young actresses. More specific to this show is the treatment of Jeanette McCurdy at the hands of her abusive mother.
So not only was it chaotic because of the abuse that was happening and my mom's violent and erratic, unstable behavior, but also because we all lived in fear of her cancer coming back.
McCurdy has called her mother both emotionally and sexually abusive, and she claims that she was forced to work on iCarly both to support the family and so her mother could live vicariously through her. She also restricted McCurdy's diet throughout the show so she would maintain a certain physique. The traumatized actress ultimately decided not to return for the 2021 revival, citing horrible memories.
You pull back the curtain on child stardom. It is not a pretty picture.
Not as I see it, no.
House of Cards.
What's more important, Kathy? Integrity or peace?
You know they'll execute him.
The Chinese are right about one thing. Sometimes you have to sacrifice the one for the many.
There once was a time when House of Cards was considered Netflix's flagship drama. Not that there were many options. It was widely acclaimed and became the first web series to receive an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Drama. Kevin Spacey also brought Hollywood prestige both to Netflix and online programming more generally, with his role as Frank Underwood being considered a career best.
There are two kinds of pain. Sort of pain that makes you strong, or useless pain. Sort of pain that's only suffering.
Unfortunately, all that goodwill was flushed down the toilet when Spacey was accused of sexual misconduct by dozens of people. He was quickly canned by Netflix and the show ended soon after, making a disappointing conclusion to a historic piece of television.
There are roughly 4 times as many threats on any given day since you took office. Now it's twice that since Francis died.
I thought everyone loves a widow.
Hogan's Heroes.
Colonel Hogan, there's one prisoner missing. Colonel Hogan, please. Not again.
It's hard watching old shows knowing that most people involved have passed away, but Hogan's Heroes is especially difficult considering the circumstances. The show starred Bob Crane as the titular Robert Hogan, an army colonel trapped inside a Nazi POW camp.
There's no way! Some nut had to come up with this one. Good news, sir?
On June 29, 1978, Crane was found bludgeoned to death inside of his Arizona apartment. A good friend of Crane, a salesman named John Henry Carpenter, was charged with Crane's murder, but was ultimately acquitted owing to poor evidence and sloppy police work. While officially unsolved, most people believe that Carpenter killed Crane and literally got away with murder. It certainly puts a stain on one of TV's most syndicated programs.
It'd be crazy not to. They know Colonel Klink won't sleep until he catches every last one of them. And he's awfully mean when he doesn't sleep.
Seventh Heaven.
What?
Well, first of all, let me assure you there really is a God, and secondly, congratulations on going over our heads to get what you want. Good luck.
Despite being the longest-running series in the history of the WB, the reputation of Seventh Heaven has been permanently tainted by the off-screen behavior of Stephen Collins. After the show ended in 2007, it was revealed that Collins has had inappropriate contact with minors on no less than 3 occasions.
The first incident was in 1973. You were 25 years old. How old was the victim?
Collins himself has admitted as much, telling People that incidents occurred in 1973, 1982, and 1994, just 2 years before the show started. It's a highly disturbing revelation that puts a major pall over the series, especially considering its overtly moral and religious content matter. The juxtaposition is enormous and could be too much to handle for some.
I'd like to read something from Ecclesiastes. Although most of you may have thought this was from the Birds, it is indeed from Ecclesiastes.
My Sister Sam.
Hi, I'm Patty Russell, and this is my sister Sam. I just moved in. We haven't lived together since we were kids. I was raised by our aunt and uncle. Yeah, things sure have changed. I used to dress her. I can't wear this out in public.
The late Rebecca Schaefer plays Patty Russell, who moves to San Francisco to live with her older sister Sam. While the first season was a big success, ratings quickly dwindled and the show was canceled in 1988. Just 1 year later, Schaefer was dead at the age of 21.
In his diary, Bardo wrote, "I have an obsession with the unattainable, and I need to destroy that which I cannot obtain."
Schaefer's work had attracted the attention of one Robert John Bardo, and he stalked the young woman for 3 years. He found her home address through DMV records, and on the morning of July 18, 1989, shot her in her own front door. It's difficult returning to My Sister Sam knowing not only that Schaefer would be murdered, but that it was this very show that brought her to the attention of her killer.
Robert Bardo became enamored with Rebecca Schaefer because of My Sister Sam.
Back in the summer of 1986, when I was watching TV shows like Magnum PI, the commercial for My Sister Sam came on, and that's when I first saw her.
Roseanne.
Good coffee?
Pan.
Yeah.
It's hard to fathom just how groundbreaking Roseanne was in the late 1980s. With its raw humor, outspoken female lead, and authentic representation of working-class families, it helped set a new standard on mainstream television.
Dan!
What?
This sink's all backed up again.
I'll plunge it right after breakfast.
Well, I don't want you to plunge it. I want you to fix it now.
You got it, babe.
Unfortunately, it now faces a very questionable legacy owing to the controversial behavior of Roseanne Barr. The star has been a deeply contentious figure in recent years, whether it's dressing as Hitler for a photo shoot, purporting numerous conspiracy theories, or tweeting openly racist comments. The latter got the 2018 revival canceled after just 9 episodes, and The Conners was produced in exchange without her involvement.
I read an article in the dermatologist's office that said it's very common for people not to want to sleep in a bed that someone died in.
Fascinating.
Glee.
Where do you think you'll be in the year 2030?
Broadway. Twinsies.
Walking. In jail or dead, or both.
Talk about irony. Despite its cheery name and positive messages, Glee is anything but, considering what we know now. It almost seems like the show is cursed, as a good number of its leads are either dead, disgraced, or both. Many castmates hated working with Lea Michele, who is supposedly a major diva, and the whole Melissa Benoist-Blake Jenner thing became weird once we learned that Jenner was abusive towards Benoist.
Hi, I'm Ryder Lynn.
I know. I saw you in the football game on Saturday. Your end zone dances are awesome.
Then there are the morbid deaths of Corey Monteith, who overdosed on drugs, Mark Salling, who took his own life after facing a lengthy prison sentence, and Naya Rivera, who drowned while boating with her child. It's all very creepy, and these show tunes have long stopped being fun.
Wow, that was super creepy.
The Beverly Hillbillies.
Said California is the place you ought to be, so they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly.
An enormously popular sitcom from the 1960s, The Beverly Hillbillies sees a mountain family from Missouri moving to Beverly Hills after striking it rich. The show is still fun, but there's one glaring inclusion that has turned it somewhat troublesome: Sharon Tate.
Howdy. Well, howdy to you. You're Jethro, aren't you?
The late actress had a recurring role on the sitcom playing bank secretary and Jethro's object of affection, Janet Trigo. She remained on the show until 1965. 4 years later, she was famously murdered by members of the Manson family in what is often described as the crime of the century. Her gruesome fate casts a dark and distressing shadow over the show, and watching it today proves to be a very surreal experience.
Miss Hathaway, there's a raccoon in your office.
Oh, no, Janet, don't panic. You've seen a raccoon before.
Not like this one. It keeps trying to undress me.
Cosby Show.
I'm not kidding. I started spanking people. By the time I got to the car, the fella that gave me the car, I hit him on the back.
For millions of people around the country, The Cosby Show is a comforting constant in their lives. With great family values, warm humor, and America's dad himself, it was the type of show that you threw on to make yourself feel good for half an hour. We don't think there's ever been a bigger contrast between fiction and reality.
Nicky, this guy is bad. Bad.
As the world now knows, Bill Cosby was a serial sex offender who assaulted dozens of women throughout multiple decades, including the 1980s, when the show was at its peak. Cosby was going on stage and becoming the lovable Cliff Huxtable, while behind the scenes he was committing egregious acts of sexual assault. Returning to this sitcom with the knowledge we have now is nearly impossible.
My barbecue sauce. Haven't you ever noticed after people have some of my barbecue sauce, after a while when it kicks in they get all huggy-buggy?
Have you returned to these shows in recent years? What did you think of them? Let us know in the comments below.
Hey, listen, man,
I overheard you talking to that sophomore girl yesterday.
Check out these other clips from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.